This is Funding Your Vision with Main Street America and the National Trust. We changed the title after we got started because the National Trust said, hey, we would love to participate also, and we love them as a partner. And then AARP, grant opportunities. Our three panelists this morning, Hannah Mira Friedland is with Main Street America. She's the manager of strategic partners, and she leads the implementation of strategic projects, the grants and loan programs with Main Street America. And so she's going to talk about some of those things as part of her presentation. Then we have Diana Maxwell, who crashed our party, and we are so happy that she did. She's with the National Trust for Historic Preservation. She's their senior grants manager. She works day in and day out, making sure preservation projects are funded. So she's going to talk about some of their grants. And specifically, there's a call out for Missouri. So we're excited to hear a little bit more about that if you're not aware of that. And then we have Craig Eichelman, is with AARP Missouri. He helps AARP to achieve national and state objectives. He's based out of Kansas City. And then there's also another office in St. Louis, but they do service the entire state. And he's got a challenge grant that he's going to talk about. And we've done some other projects with AARP in the past, and hopefully we can do those again. So I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to Hannah Mira, who's going to get us started talking about some of the grants that Main Street America offers. And I was telling the panelists this morning that this is assessment season. So we've been on the road a lot talking and working in communities. And we have been talking about some of these grants whenever communities are telling us about projects that they're working on. We mention the different grant opportunities that are available. So Hannah Mira, take it away.
All right. Thank you, Keith. Good morning, everybody. As Keith shared, I'm Hannah Mira Friedland from Main Street America, and really looking forward to joining you all today to share about some kind of general grant opportunities at Main Street America, but especially focusing in on one of them. I am based in Chicago, Illinois, so not too far from Missouri. So the main grant that we will discuss as part of these are several corporate grant programs that our grant making team focuses on especially, as well as a few other programs that involve some more technical assistance and are more geographically specific. So the first that I want to draw everyone's attention to is the T-Mobile Hometown Grant Program. This is for physical placemaking projects in small rural communities. These are grants of up to $50,000 per grant. And the application for this one is due on March 31st. And we'll talk more about this program soon, but this has been a 5-year long program that is ending with this final quarter that is open right now. So last chance to apply is March 31st, 11:59 p.m. Central Time. Other programs to just draw your attention to that have closed for this year are the GM on Main Street Grant Program. This has been going on this is the 4th iteration of this program. That was for traffic calming and road safety projects for select eligible counties. The one eligible county in Missouri this year was St. Charles County, and these were for $60,000 traffic calming and road safety projects. So this application just closed last week, and we hope to be able to offer it, to continue being able to offer it in future years. So look out for that if you are in an eligible area there. Those eligible counties also, just as a heads up, can change from year to year. But do keep a lookout for that program in the future. And then next is also the American Express Shop Small Grant Program. So this was for small businesses in downtown districts for community kind of focused small business grants with a community impact piece. So the application for this has also recently closed, but we hope to continue being able to offer grant programs for small business support as well. To find out and keep in the loop about any of the grant program opportunities, make sure to subscribe to Main Street America's email newsletter for announcements about future funding opportunities. And I'll link this in the chat after the presentation. So moving in specifically to the T-Mobile Hometown Grants Program, I'm going to share some info here. I know we'll have time for questions at the very end of the call. And I'll also put in an email address and additional contact info for any questions pertaining to this grant. And you can also use the Q&A feature as well. So launched in 2021, this program is providing up to a total of $25 million in funding to a total of 500 grantee organizations over the 5 years for physical placemaking projects that benefit small rural communities across the US and Puerto Rico. These have been operating on quarterly grant cycles and make sure that you have this deadline front and center of March 31st. This is a highly competitive program. So we used to receive, fewer applications as the grant program began. We now receive somewhere between 850 and I think the most is maybe 1250, so over 1,000 applications per quarter, with only 25 grantees selected each cycle. So it is a very competitive program. However, we have found that a lot of Main Street organizations and other, downtown district organizations tend to have really strong applications, and a number of Missouri Main Street communities have been awarded the grant over the course of this program. So while it is highly competitive, we do encourage you strongly to apply. Also, if you have applied previously and have not received the grant, we encourage you to apply again. And each grant award is up to $50,000. There's no preference for if the funding amount is less than $50,000 or $50,000. So if you can use $50,000 for your project, we encourage you to apply for that amount. As far as examples of types of projects that have been awarded, these include parks and trails, downtown beautification, public art, wayfinding, accessibility upgrades, all sorts of community centers, senior centers, youth centers, workforce development centers, history centers, museums, educational signage throughout the community, older and historic building rehabilitation to serve as community gathering spaces, environmental sustainability projects, incubators or farmers markets, makers markets, supporting small businesses or small like local farming communities. But this grant is specifically for nonprofits or local governments. It is not eligible for actual small businesses themselves. Then this can also be used for supplies for technology, such as a mobile library or a Wi-Fi hub, a downtown kiosk type thing, or computers for a youth or workforce development lab, things like that. Not an exhaustive list, but just examples. Here you can see a few photos of projects that have been awarded. We've got some Missouri representation in Holden with the Downtown Railing Project here. So as far as who is eligible for the program, again, it's specifically for 501c3 and 501c6 nonprofit organizations and local government entities. If selected, the grant award must be managed and deployed by the applicant. So even if you're working with other partners, which is great, and we encourage that, it still must be managed and deployed by the organization that applied for the grant. It may not be awarded to for-profit businesses directly or indirectly via pass-through funding to for-profit businesses. However, if you are looking to have some sort of sub-granting program through this grant to other nonprofits, that would be okay. Applicants must be located in small rural communities with a population of 50,000 people or less. By rural here, we're kind of looking at beyond the major metropolitan statistical area of very large cities. Proposals must focus on a physical project benefiting the public. The applicant organization must either own the site where the project would be implemented or provide a description or confirmation demonstrating adequate permissions to alter the site. And if the applicant organization does not own the site, one of your letters of support, there are a few letters of support are required as part of the application. One of those must come from the owner of the site, demonstrating the permissions. Each applicant may submit one application per organization per grant cycle. So you can reapply for as many cycles as you would like. Previous winners are eligible to apply again, but you must demonstrate successful completion of your prior grant project. So as far as types of eligible grant uses, again, these must be for physical placemaking projects. So construction, installation supplies and materials are eligible, as well as equipment, the labor costs for that initial construction or installation, any artist fees associated with community engagement design process or supplies, any indoor or outdoor streetscape or indoor furniture for a community space, any other physical items. And then special events or public space activation programming can account for up to 10% or $5,000 of the total grant amount. Ineligible grant uses would be engineering or architectural plans or fees, staff salaries beyond initial construction or rehabilitation or installation. This is a big one that we see where we sometimes see a really strong application, but it includes a line item for staff salaries or for operational and maintenance expenses beyond the installation of the project. That's where you can get into disqualification territory of an otherwise very strong application. So be on the lookout about that. Keith, we're at like 1 minute here?
Keep going. I'm gonna
Okay,
keep going. I'm gonna ask a question, or I'm gonna make a statement. Is that both Chillicothe and Cape Girardeau have won that grant, and we do have their winning applications available in our grant resource directory, so you can go look at a winning application and maybe garner some suggestions for your application.
great, great. Thanks for mentioning that, Keith. Um, Additionally, as far as eligibility here, ineligible would be reimbursement for projects already completed, and then pass-through funding to private entities or initiatives, and then special events or public space activation with a greater amount than the 10%. You can also find this info on the program webpage, which I will link after the presentation. Here you can see the review criteria. A couple things I just want to call out. Feasibility is super important in this review process. So upon receiving funds, if selected, so if you were applying this round, funds would be dispersed, let's see, March, by the end of May, funds would be dispersed. So you would have June of this year through May of 2027. And the project must be completed and usable by the public by the end of that implementation period. That means that if you have a larger project where there's funding from multiple sources, the project that this grant would fund, this piece still must be usable by the end of the implementation period. And as a result of needing to show that feasibility, the funds should all either be secured already or there should be a very minimal funding gap, and being able to demonstrate very strong confidence and being able to like have a plan for securing the remaining funds if it's a larger project. So just want to call that out too. I know that a number of times organizations might be working on really transformative projects involving a lot of different partners and really taking a holistic, large scope view. So just making sure that is there. So those are just some things that I wanted to call out about this. But we also have alignment with T-Mobile's small town strategy as part of that as well in their decision making.
Hanamir, I want to
Um,
ask a question that's very specific to this, and I'm afraid we may not remember. So I have a question saying, can you say more about the public activation costs? Would that be oriented to a celebration or gathering, or did it refer to something like a paint or art for a mural in the alley?
so yes, this can be for more of it could be either. It could be either of those things would be totally fine. The paint would be considered just part of the supplies. So things like that, there's no limit to how much you can spend on paint or other kind of supplies there. And this would be more so for a celebration or, if you're doing additional kind of outreach or marketing about this new project that you have, or right, some sort of celebration. Also, if selected, T-Mobile does, I think there is a small amount that they send as well for that kind of check presentation
Like an
ceremony
announcement?
specifically.
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
yes, sure. Oh, and there's no match involved in this grant, just in case anyone was wondering on that. That's a common question too. Um, Great. So otherwise, major things here are just that we are not able to accept any late applications. So gather cost or pricing information for the budget document that is required. You need to upload a budget document and then letters of support, as well as more of a detailed narrative of the project proposal within the application. So make sure to get those cost pricing information for your budget early, and then request letters of support from a diverse set of key stakeholders, whoever would be using the site or impacted by it. Get those in early so that you can include those in your application. Everything must be included in the application form within the portal that's used. Otherwise, all this info is out there on either on the webpage or within the application form. And if you have any questions, I'll put the email address here in the chat. And we highly encourage folks to submit during this last cycle. Again, whether you've submitted before, if you've received a grant before, we encourage you to apply. So thank you so much. And just again, March 31st is that deadline. Thank you.
All right, Hanamira, thank you. That's a lot of information. I know that when it comes to grants, there's lots of specifics, right, that you have to go through. So feel free to ask additional questions as we're moving through the rest of the presentations if they pertain to that T-Mobile grant. And I think we're ready for Diana to talk about the National Trust grants.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for letting me crash your party here today.
Yes.
I'm always happy to be with Main Street friends. Main Street was the very first National Trust affiliated conference I went to when I first started at the Trust back in Des Moines in 2011. And you guys are just a good time, always. So I'm Diana Maxwell. I work for the National Trust, and I've been here since 2009. And I've been working with the grant program since 2012. And I'm going to give you a very quick crash course in the National Trust grant program today. So, hang on, let me move some things on my screen. There we go. The National Trust for Historic Preservation has been providing grants to preservation projects for more than 50 years. And in our most recent fiscal year, which ended on June 30th of 2025, we awarded over $23 million to hundreds of preservation projects nationwide. Through various programs, we fund everything from planning to education to capacity building to brick and mortar restorations in a variety of project types and building types too. So grants range from $2,500 for planning work up to $500,000 for larger restoration projects. So it's a big range there too. During this presentation, I'm going to cover the basics of the programs we offer, focusing on these three categories here: the National Trust Preservation Fund, our special funds, and funds for specific property types. And I just wanted to note that since we've been providing grants since 1969, we've provided 171 grants totaling more than $2.8 million in Missouri. So that's some good money in Missouri, but we'd like to give you more money. So our largest program in terms of the number of awards made is our National Trust Preservation Fund. And this program is an umbrella term for a collection of 57 individually endowed funds. So we don't have funds specific to every state, but we do have some that are nationally competitive, and we do have a national reach with that program. The nice thing for Missouri is that you are funded by, or you are covered by a specific geographically restricted fund that's shared with Kansas. So you can tell your friends in Kansas to apply to. It's a good amount each year. So I would encourage you to apply. We have 3 deadlines annually: February 1st, June 1st, and October 1st. The June 1st deadline, even though it seems like it's in the middle of the year, is actually where we have the most funding available based on our fiscal year. So if the project lines up for you for June, that's usually the safest one to apply for, just because we have the most funds available. But we generally have money in Missouri throughout the year. On our website, we list what states we have funds available in. The National Trust Preservation Funds were designed to support preservation projects, preservation planning, and education projects, meant to be basically seed money for projects. So these range from $2,500 to $10,000. You have the 3 deadlines. The next one will come up on June 1st. So that application is not open now, but will be open in early April. We also have the ability to grant from these funds throughout the year in emergency situations. So if you do have sort of an emergency situation that comes up, such as a natural disaster or something that's an unforeseen threat or issue, reach out to us via email, and we can chat about if what your project needs are and if our funds can help with that. And this project here was a $3,000 grant to Dutchtown Main Streets in 2022 that supported a walking tour of the neighborhood on the south side of St. Louis. So they were bringing attention to the neighborhood, and were able to do that through those tours. The program is, and this is pretty general for all of our programs. It's open to nonprofit organizations and public and government agencies. So 501c3s, but a 501c6 or 8 is usually okay too. We encourage a dollar for dollar match of cash or in-kind contributions, but don't require them. The full grant amount is paid up front, and you have a year to complete the project. So this is another project in Missouri. The Missouri Main Street Connection received a $5,000 grant in December of 2025 to host a hands-on workshop in one of their network communities for historic property owners. So you can see those are the types of projects that we can fund. In selecting grantees, the basic criteria is going to be fairly universal across all of our programs. So the organization's capacity to complete the project, the feasibility of the timeline and the budget, and the likelihood of success for the project. So that's pretty standard, I think, in a lot of grants. We also want to consider the historic resource that you're talking about. That can be a building, that can be a landscape, that can be a Main Street community, neighborhood. The site or its significance to the community, its ability to tell stories that resonate with people, and the degrees to which it tells stories that advance our goal, which is telling the full history of the United States. We're also interested in how it fits into our current priorities, which are usually available on our website. If you have questions on this, let us know, but we're not going to ding you if it doesn't meet the exact current priorities. In addition to the state-specific funds I mentioned, we also have a number of national funds that may be of interest. A couple have deadlines coming up soon. The Joanna Fabro Fund and the Cynthia Woods Mitchell Fund go up to $15,000, and they have some guidelines that make them a little bit different from our standard grants. The great thing about the Fabro and Mitchell grants is that they can be used for physical preservation work, for brick and mortar work, as well as planning and interpretation. So those applications this year are once a year. That'll be due March 1st. So if you do have a project in mind, like now would be a good time to apply for that. You won't get notice on that though until July 1. So there is a longer amount of time on that program. The Hart Family Fund for small towns also can go up to $15,000, and that is for towns with populations of 10,000 or fewer. And then the last bullet here is a little different. The Peter H. Brink Leadership Fund. It supports direct mentoring and provides funding for travel costs and meeting costs and a stipend for peer-to-peer learning. So these are on a rolling basis, but if you want to reach out to fellow preservationists or Main Street organizations, if you know, especially post meetings, if you know traveling someplace to see what's going on in someone's community would really be helpful to yours, that's the type of thing that can be funded with the Brink Fund. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about are funds for unique resources. So these are for special resource types. So we have the National Fund for Sacred Places, which was established in 2016 to provide technical and financial support for active religious congregations and historic buildings. This application is open now, and it's due March 3rd. It's a pretty lengthy application, but it is a great opportunity to get capital funding money, and that they have a standalone website for that, the fundforsacredplaces.org, which I'd encourage you to check out if you were interested in that. We also have our African American Cultural Heritage Action Fund, which has a variety of programs and grant programs for funding resources and initiatives focused on African American history and achievement. This includes specific opportunities for Black churches and for Black modernism projects. The National Grant Program was just closed February 6th, but we should be running that again next year. And then we also have our Backing Historic Small Restaurants program, which is funded by the American Express Foundation. And this gives grants for restaurants. So this is actually one that is for small businesses that contribute, the restaurants contribute to their neighborhood's unique history and identity. And this will be happening later this year. So that was very, very quick overview of the National Trust grants. I will put these links in the chat, but you can sign up for our interest list. You can look at our full applications available and guidelines all on our website there. Send emails to us at grants@savingplaces.org. And if you will be in Tulsa at the Main Street Conference, I will be doing a session there. And I'll also be at the National Trust booth. So if you want to talk about a project, you can come see me there.
That's great, Diana. Thank you. I know that you featured a couple Missouri communities that have used that grant. I saw you had a picture of West Plains. I think West Plains also used it to create a historic coloring book.
Yes.
Use some National Trust funds.
Yep.
So lots of cool ideas, lots of great things that can be done with those funds. And so we appreciate that partnership. All right, Craig, let me get your presentation up here and ready to go.
Yeah.
And again, feel free to type in questions related to any of the panelists, and we will answer those as we end up here. So, Craig, I think we are ready to go.
All right. Well, thank you, Keith, for the invitation to talk about the 2026 AARP Community Challenge Grant. I'm Craig Eichelman. I'm a state director for AARP in Missouri. If you're listening in from another state, the process to participate in the challenge grant is the same. So just know that. AARP is accepting the 2026 Community Challenge Grant Program, which funds projects that make tangible improvements to jumpstart long-term changes to improve livability in a community. If you can go ahead and change slides, please. Next slide. This is the agenda. This is what I'll cover this morning. I do believe I've got about 20 minutes. I'll try to make it through a little quicker. So AARP Livable Communities support the efforts of neighborhoods, towns, cities, and counties nationwide to become more livable for all. We believe that communities should provide safe walking and walkable streets, affordable and accessible housing and transportation options, access to needed services and opportunities for residents, especially those 50 and older, to participate in civic and community life. Next slide. It takes time to build great communities. But building quick action, tangible improvements can help spark the long-term progress. So to support this, in 2017, AARP launched the AARP Community Challenge to invest in local communities to fund projects that build momentum for change. Next slide. So in the last 9 years, we've funded over $24 million in 2,100 grants in 1,200 communities nationwide that benefit about 14 million people. Next slide. The program supports communities. Oops, someone's trying to call me. Sorry about that. What are the odds? Someone's trying to call me during the middle of a presentation. The program supports communities of all sizes and organization types, including over the past 9 years, 40% of the recipients are in rural communities, 40% in urban, and 20% suburban. And communities with large and small, some with just several hundred residents, have received the grants. 67% of the grants have gone to nonprofits, while 33% have gone to government entities. Next slide. Since 2017, our average grant amount is $10,000 to $12,000. And while AARP reserves the right to reward compelling projects with any dollar amount, in 2026, grants will not exceed $25,000. Next slide. AARP Community Challenge focuses on tangible installations, community engagement, and quick action timelines to help grantees fast-track ideas and replicate promising practices. Since 2017, grantees have installed 45,000 tangible improvements in communities and created nearly 8,000 resources, activities, and programs. Just to name a couple, almost 1,800 benches and 400 picnic tables, 2,000 garden beds built, 300 sculptures, art pieces installed, 370 murals painted, 627 green spaces and parklets created, and on and on. Bike racks installed, fixed stations for mounted bikes, 43 bike mobility lanes created, and all that was done with almost 40,000 volunteers and 4,800 events held. Next slide. AARP Community Challenge grants have demonstrated an ability to help attract additional funding, overcoming barriers and increasing awareness in the community. So 50% of the grantees have reported garnering additional funds and support from the public and private funders after participating in our program. 87% reported that there's been an advanced change to overcome policy barriers, and 100% of the grantees reported that the programs helped gain greater awareness, engagement with the effort, and new partners, which is always important. Next slide, please. We know that great communities take a long time to build, but we also believe that quick action sparks long-term change. That's why our program is designed to take place within 1 calendar year from project conception, funding granted, and project completion. Speaking of timeline, let's talk about the 2026 Community Challenge Program. Next slide, please. In 2026, the AARP Community Challenge Grant is accepting application across 3 different grant opportunities. 1, flagship grants, capacity building micro grants, and demonstration grants. Next slide, please. Flagship grants continue to be successful community challenge grants, community challenge grant program, first launched in 2017. These grants offer a broad opportunity for communities to apply for funding, to be creative across categories of public spaces, transportation, housing, digital connection, and disaster resilience. Flagship grants have gone from a few $100s to some short-term activities to $15,000 for larger projects. Since 2017, our average grant amount in this category has been between $10,000 and $12,000. Next slide, we'll talk about capacity building microgrants, combining $2,500 grants with additional resources such as webinars, cohort learning opportunities, up to 2 hours, 2.5 one-on-one coaching and leading the national nonprofit organizations and AARP publications. This grant opportunity will accept applications for projects that benefit residents, especially those 50 and older, in the following categories. Walk audits, you'll be conducting walk audit assessments with Walk America, or America Walks, excuse me. Bike audits, conduct bikeability assessments and support with the League of American Bicyclists. Home fit guide modifications, that's promote safe, accessible housing through education and simple modifications using the AARP Home Fit Guide. And disaster preparedness training, implementing training programs and distribute preparedness resources with the support of SBP and the AARP Disaster Resilience Tool Kit. Next slide, finally, demonstration grants. This opportunity funds projects that encourage replication of promising local efforts. Grants tend to fall between $10,000 and $20,000 and will not exceed $25,000. This grant opportunity will accept applications for projects that benefit residents, especially those 50 and older, in the following categories: pedestrian safety, and I'll pause right here to say grants dealing with pedestrian safety will get a second look. We have additional funding this year for pedestrian safety with support from Toyota Motor North America. Second, high-speed internet, increasing broadband access and adoption with funding from Microsoft. Housing design competitions to promote understanding and implementation of housing policies that support a variety of community needs using the AARP Housing Design Competition Toolkit. Next slide. Who is eligible? Well, if you're on this call, you're eligible. It's 501c3, C4s, and C6s, government entities, of course, and the types of projects are permanent physical improvements in the community, temporary demonstrations that lead to long-term change, or new innovative programs, pilots, or services. The following projects are not eligible for funding. That would be partisan, political, or election-related activities, planning activities, and assessment for surveys in communities without tangible engagement, studies with no follow-up, action, publications of books or reports, research and development of nonprofit endeavors, and the promotion of a for-profit entity or its products or services. Next slide. I'll be one of three judges for Missouri anyway, and this is how projects are scored. 6 out of 100 points, 60 points for impact. The project demonstrates the strong potential to create meaningful change by addressing community identified needs aligned with livable community priorities, especially for adults 50 and older. 30 points for execution. Applicants demonstrate capacity to deliver the AARP Community Challenge project on time within an awarded budget, effectively engage residents and key stakeholders, and leverage volunteers, especially those over 50, in the execution. And finally, 10 points for innovation. The project demonstrates creativity and unique design, engagement, and engage elements that contribute to its impact on residents, especially those 50 and older. And AARP will also evaluate each project based on its consistency with AARP's mission to serve the needs of people 50 plus. Home stretch, next slide. How to apply. All right, all applications must be submitted through aarp.org/community challenge by March 4th. So that's coming up. March 4th, 2026, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. All applications must be committed through the online portal, and no emailed or mailed applications will be accepted. Next slide and last slide. For additional questions, and again, no matter what state you're calling from, for additional questions, you can email the 2026 Community Challenge Grant Team directly at communitychallenge@aarp.org. However, we cannot provide individual feedback regarding an application, just about the process. Everything discussed here today and much more can be found at the Community Challenge website at aarp.org/community challenge. And to hear more about the Community Challenge and all things livable, sign up for our free AARP Livable Communities e-newsletter. And Keith, that is what I have. Thank you.
Awesome. Some of you might be going, why are we thinking about AARP as as a partner when they're an organization that focuses on older adults? Well, many of those things are quality of life things, and they match very well with Main Street. Walkability, livability, making things more accessible. That's what we do in Main Street also. So Diana and Hanamira come back and join us for some Q&A. I just want to remind folks, please put your questions in there. We do have a couple that I will field. I know that Hanamira and Diana have been having some conversations with some folks too about things that were going on. I want to ask about let's see. So we had some comments about a small historic church located in North Carolina. So we have some folks from North Carolina joining us today. We appreciate that. Hanamira explained that it would not be T-Mobile, but could be the National Fund for Sacred Places webinar. So Diana, I don't know if you have anything to add to that. They are active in community assisting with food and clothing through that church also and the services that they provide.
Yeah, that's great. One of the things the National Fund for Sacred Places looks for is that that the it's it's broader than just churches, but that the church, for shortcuts, church is involved in the community and has
Hmm.
community impact and outreach.
Hmm. Okay, great. Also saw a question, do properties applying for the Joanna Favorite Fund and Cynthia Wood Mitchell Fund have to be listed on the National Register of Historic Places?
They do not, and they don't have to be for any of our grants. What throws people off sometimes is there's language for specifically Favreau and Mitchell that if a project is a National Historic Landmark, which is the highest level of preservation or historic designation in the US,
Hmm.
then they can be privately owned.
Okay.
So if you had a house that was at an NHL landmark, this in 12 years of grants, this has never happened, but theoretically, you would not have to be a nonprofit if you were at that level of designation.
Okay, great. Craig, a question about, can they apply for more than one category of AARP, or do they have to pick one?
Now you can pick any of the three. Uh, Demonstration grants or any of them. So it's just a separate grant. We have multiple grants from several municipalities because they have more than one project going on. So
Okay.
happy to look at any of them.
So they could apply in all categories if they had a project.
Yes.
Okay, great. Awesome. Awesome. Craig, do you have any examples of Missouri folks that have received that challenge grant? I think
Oh,
Warrensburg did.
absolutely. I know Warrensburg, they did some alleyways that connected the downtown parking areas to their main street,
Hmm.
reimagining those. I know that West Plains has a similar project as well. Um, I think Gallatin did some wayfinding last year or the year before that.
Okay.
And there are several areas of agencies on aging that have kind of repurposed uh, the lighting and benching
Okay.
around their buildings. So
Okay.
and community gardens, and I can go on, accessible trails and so forth. But it's really, you've got projects that what are those amenities my community is investing in that will
Awesome.
keep me there as I age?
Yeah. And so the message is many of our communities have been using the AARP grants,
Yeah.
our main streets. And so it's a perfect match. Another question, Craig, for the capacity building audits, walking or biking, what does the community identify needs required? Is it a research? Is it just a survey? Um, how do they
Oh,
conduct that?
it could be both. I mean, it really doesn't. It doesn't need to be a permanent. It could be a demonstration project as well. I know Kansas City several years ago when the motor scooters were out there, they were looking for traffic calming ideas for designated lanes for bikes and scooters and for transit, but for walkability, I mean, same thing. Uh, it can be done with either way.
Okay. And then another related to AARP, they have a two-story building in their downtown to make them accessible. Can AARP funds go toward an elevator?
Oh, I mean, most certainly it could. Yes, that's a simple question. I'm just thinking that's, we've
It's
got a
private property,
$25,000 limit, but
right?
uh, uh, and I'm not sure how much. I haven't priced one of those out yet. So, but I can. Yes, I would look at it and
Yeah.
how it was what other what other funds are being used to help
Okay.
make that project successful.
Okay. Then I'm going to match in Diana because we can layer grants. If this is a historic building and we need some accessibility upstairs, are there some opportunities to layer some grant?
Yeah, I think that certainly planning for that, you probably need to hire an engineer maybe or architects to figure out how to not impact your historic structure too much or,
Hmm.
keep it going.
Hmm.
Um, and then the Fabro Fund you could apply for brick and mortar money for that.
Okay, great, great. Hanamira, you mentioned in the beginning and didn't have time to talk about the American Express small business. So this wouldn't be for a Main Street program, but there is a grant to support the small businesses within our Main Street programs. Could you drop a link and maybe just give a little brief? As I think there's one open right now, or did it just close?
So this was the one that recently closed at the end of January.
Okay.
Yes, so this program is not open right now, but for the past number of years, there's been a couple different iterations
Hmm.
of this partnership with American Express, supporting small businesses of lots of different
Hmm.
business types. Sometimes they've been specifically about kind of in areas that have experienced just natural disasters. Other times they've been kind of, large geographic eligibility for this most recent round has been for businesses that have an impact in their community,
Hmm.
that are maybe more legacy businesses or that are just actively involved in community engagement, supporting community, offering meeting space or things
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
But yeah, let me add a link to
Okay.
the program in the chat. But yeah, so just know that there is not anything open for American Express right now. We hope to be able to offer more grant opportunities through this partnership in the coming months.
Yeah, we've had a handful of businesses utilize that program here in Missouri, and
Great.
so it's really been good. Let's see. I have a question, Craig. For the AARP grant, can two nonprofits apply together for a joint project? So I'm not sure if they mean can
Ooh.
each nonprofit apply separately for the same project to make it larger because they're co-oping on it, or would the two organizations need to apply together?
Huh. That's you're stumping the professor here. I'm not. I've never had two organizations
Hmm.
come in together.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of what that would look like. I would imagine it's two organizations separately,
Hmm.
grant, but writing making it clear within the grant that you're partnering with another organization, so we can look at those
Hmm.
simultaneously.
Okay, great.
Because the
Hanamira,
grant, because the grant has to go to somebody,
right.
not doing it. Right.
Right, right. Hanamira, I want to ask, I don't want to put you on the spot, but are there any potential new opportunities coming up that you guys are working on? Is there anything that's going to replace the T-Mobile? I know that has been a very popular grant program for many of our Main Street programs. I think we've received maybe 10 or 12, not all of them Main Street programs in Missouri, but any sneak peeks or things that you guys are working on?
Nothing that I can share at this point, but we are, working with T-Mobile on, exploring other possibilities for the future. But there is not anything, directly
Okay.
coming up with them. But kind of looking into, what our next directions there might be, because we would love to be able to continue offering grant programs that can help support the Main Street Network as much as possible, and then kind of looking into exploring various other kind of partnerships too.
Okay.
So yeah, we've got some irons in the fire for sure. And any announcements about future programming will be announced through the email newsletter if you're not yet subscribed. So just a plug for that. But yeah, so nothing else I can share at this point.
That was
But
the
we do,
expected
yes,
answer. Yes, but
yes.
I thought maybe something was going to be announced tomorrow and you'd share it, just between you and me here on this webinar. um, I do have a question that came in. I think I know the answer, but this would be for all of you. Um, Currently, it must be a newer Main Street program, doesn't have their 501c3 yet. So are they able to apply for any of these grants, or do they need to partner with a nonprofit or maybe a government entity? So Diana, we'll start with you. What's your answer to that?
They would need to partner
Okay.
and at least have a fiscal sponsor. I think the best way to do it would probably be to apply as the organization, but identify in the application that they would have a fiscal sponsor and who that is.
Okay. Craig?
Same answer. Yeah, they would
Okay.
need a partner.
Okay. Hanamira?
Different for T-Mobile. So for this one, the applicant that is actually filling out the application that submits it must be the entity that would both receive the funds if selected and
Mhm.
also manage the grant. It has to be that same entity.
Okay.
However, you can collaborate on the application. We use this platform called Submittable for all of our grant programs. So if you were to go and click on the T-Mobile application from our program webpage,
Mhm.
you would and create an account. Then you can, there's like a place to add a collaborator at the top of your screen somewhere. And you can add a collaborator so that partner applicant who is a 501c3 or local government entity would be the one to actually be clicking submit on the application and need to
Okay.
be receiving the funds and managing. However, you can add a collaborator that is the Main Street organization and then work jointly on the application.
Okay.
And I think when there is a Main Street program involved, that usually signals that you've got a strong application, excellent
Sure.
stewardship. So that makes an application stronger, and being able to show that partnership through the application is fine, but it does have to be the
Okay.
other entity that would receive the funds.
Okay. I've got one more question, but what I'm going to say is to the folks listening and watching, we're winding down here. If you've got another question, please pop it in the chat or the Q&A. And I'm going to do a quick commercial for our next webinar, which is next week, February 26th. It's talking about our annual awards that we give out at our state conference. We're changing those up a bit, so you probably want to attend this if you've done this in the past. We're changing it up because it's our 20th anniversary as Missouri Main Street. So changing up the awards just a little bit, but also we offer a grant. It's called the Creative Place Activation Grant, and it's $10,000. And you have to do a skit and a pitch party at our state conference to win that. And so just wanted to give a shout out for one more grant opportunity this year that is tied to our state conference. So think about that. February 26th, you can find registrations on our website. Okay, so one more question before we end. Diana, I think this is for you. Can the Historic Places grant be used for historic preservation of a church, even if it's no longer a church, but is being repurposed for community use?
So the National Fund for Sacred Places has to have an active congregation in the building to be used to apply. Our other grants, absolutely. But for that Sacred Places grant, no.
Okay, perfect. I did catch that because I've had that question myself because I've given that grant to folks as a recommendation, but I didn't know the details. And I heard you call out an active congregation. So yeah, all right. Perfect. All right. Well, I want to thank Hanamira from Main Street America, Diana Maxwell from National Trust for Historic Preservation, and Craig Eichelman from AARP. Thank you all very much. This was really great. Just to remind folks, this was recorded and will go onto our YouTube page, our YouTube channel. Some of these grants have some very short windows for applications, so I would suggest diving in today. Dive in this afternoon. Craig, Diana, Hanamira, thank you again very much. Everybody have a great day. Take care.
Bye, everyone.
So much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.